Joshua, my old friend. How are you, brother?
I'm great, and I'm loving your beard.
And listen,
I've never been able to grow one like that.
If it's okay, I got to bounce at 4:30. I got to run and grab a check and then beat it to the bank before they close. So
yeah,
cut it at an hour and a half will be good.
Oh, I was gonna say 4:30 your time, right? Because I'm like, that's 2.5 mine. But yeah, for sure. I have to skedaddle and get my daughter as well. So cool.
Perfect timing. Yeah, that was a misstep. 3:30, I got to bounce to get to the place and then get to the bank. But anyway,
sure.
So bring me up to speed. What have you been up to, my
friend? Yeah, I to save time because I can chat. Wind me up and go. I took the time to listen to the last podcast, which for y'all's fancy is 2 years ago to the Monday. So that's kind of funny. But here, I'll set in the shade for just a sec. And so I made some notes so that I could, make efficient progress, if you will, to things. And I think it's really funny, the little takeaways I have. But aside from that, I would want to start in the grow room because my lights go off at 2:30.
Nice.
And that's when the girls are sleeping.
When I first started podcasting way back when, I used to go back and listen to every episode just to make sure that I was like keeping on track. I wasn't getting ahead of myself. I was being good about explaining what I'm doing. I found that to be an amazingly powerful tool. So I'm glad you did it. That's good for you. Kudos.
Yeah, no, I agree because I found myself saying the same things. I'm just trying to say them calmer and more articulate every time. Yep. Right? It's like it's an analogy to that I have is, people are like, oh, you changed or you haven't changed. You know what I mean? One or the other kind of connotation. And it's like, well, trees grow, right? They're rooted. And they don't move, but they grow. And so that's kind of the analogy that I think I have is like I'm hold fast in the things that I think are ethical and meaningful to me and spiritual to me, and then I'm growing in those same regards, right? But yeah, no, I recall you saying that, listen to myself, and so I took that to heart, and it's like I do that with journals too. I have journals reaching back to 2010, and the validation, the validation you get from something like that is amazing. It's something that it's incredible. So if you don't journal, whoever's out there, it's something that I think it's a powerful tool. It's, use it how you want or whatever, but it's incredibly powerful to go back and, like you said, just listen to things and like, am I taking inventory of yourself in a way?
Mm-hmm. It's inspirational. Right? It's inspirational. Like it really goes, wow, I was that bad off back then, or man, I didn't know nothing back then, right? So yeah, it's very, very insightful.
Totally. Yeah, no, totally. Cause yeah, it's funny. The last one I wrote, you're like, what, tell us the progress. And I said, well, progress, that's a funny word. I've been hanging in the philosophy of it all. And indeed, I still am. People tell me I'm a philosopher, and I'm like, okay, I mean, I guess, but it's not that. It's that I think, yeah, never mind that. I'm just saying I still am very philosophical about my entire approach to things, life, gardening, my relationships and things like that. But in full credit, I broke down a couple years ago, and I'm not religious, but the thing is, you can live life in a spiritual manner and or not, and building this place can keep your mind very busy and your body very busy. And I wasn't allowing myself spiritual growth, if you will, and I was kind of feeling what I didn't realize was spiritual stagnation. And so, for what it's worth, that for me, my last 2 years have been predominantly spiritual growth, but as I believe the mind, body, spirit's one thing, I see that reflection in everything, right? So that's all for that anyway. Because yeah, I want to pop in the grow room, but actually, just on that note, so I can cap it, because I wrote this down. Ken, if you at some point, I know you had the website and you do like the voodoo magic back there. On my website, I have something that if people are inspired by validation stories, we should say, I wrote something. So I've taken to writing. Maybe that's what I should say. Is this last year we went on vacation to Alaska, and I made a commitment to myself that I was going to write a book that I had the title written for 10 years, and was like, well, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. You know what I mean? It's like we say that about a lot of things. When will you do yoga? I'll get to it. I know I need to, so I'll do it later. Right. It's like, but so I wrote my first children's book, that at the time that I wrote, the title was called A Carrot Wants to Flower. Then now the title, it's a manuscript though, so I am kind of kicking myself. So yeah, Grow and Tell, right? 5142, if people read that, is a validation story that I can't even begin to explain. And it's, we moved here July 11th, 6 years ago, and so I won't ruin the whole story, but spirit, God, creator, whatever you want to call it, the universe, reaches out to you when you do reach out in faith of your desire, I should say, right? And that's like the formula that's been written forever and ever and ever. The problem I think people have is they don't give themselves the ability to have the desire. And so this homestead, the way what I'm telling you is how I'm seeing the validations. I can't even count them and show them to you. I would look crazy. They're all day, every day. And that's because of my alignment with the, what I want this place to be is not for me, you know. It's my alignment for this place is of service. It serves as a place, like I host travelers, as you guys know. And so regenerative travel is a cool word people say, but for me, it's not regenerative travel. What I'm doing is, people say nature, right? And we're nature, but what we're calling on and craving, what people really mean is the wild, right? And so you see my hashtag is where the wild things are and are. And we came up with that when I moved here. It's like these things just, this isn't my home alone is what I'm saying, right? I belong to it. The way that an ant or a bee does. That's what I'm trying to work on the most that I can, and understanding, however, I make a larger impact than an ant or a bee here, fortunately or not. You know, that's my own to weigh. But yeah, so I'm just been getting validated beyond validation since I've been leaning back into that third body, the spirit. You know, just the mind and the body alone, you exhaust yourself. And so that's all. I'm just saying, giving it to something more than me because it came from something more than me, and it's for something more than me. You know. And the nightstands proves that, right? And so I'm like, if anyone has anything to say against this, like, read the nightstands and tell me what your logic is, because I can't, for the hell of you, figure it out otherwise. And I can just show you, I mean, boundless manifestations in that same regard, and it's just so validating. But that said, that's my. I just thought it was funny that's how I started the last podcast, because I sounded kind of like down on myself and things, because I was really just starting to chew on stuff, you know, that I had avoided for a while. And now these last 2 years, I've just really articulated. I'm like, I'm saying the same things. But anyway, so let's go in the grow room, because
yeah, no, we got to have a much deeper conversation. All that. I remember the nightstand. I saw the nightstand. We talked about.
Yeah, yes, you do.
And yep. I did a podcast recently with Ken on his channel about soul. Like, what is the soul of a human being? And we went pretty deep on that. So, really look.
Which one is that? Which one is that? Yeah, I'd love to catch that.
It's Ken's Cafe, and it was a few weeks back.
Sure. Yeah, I'm never ever telling anyone how to do anything in their life. I think my purpose is to serve as an awakener for someone, you know. My tagline, that, again, reading my old journals, I started in May of 2019, I recall proclaiming out loud to people, I'm here to strike heart in the fear of my communities, or I'm here to strike heart in the fears of my community, however you want to hear that. But it's the same thing, or simply, I'm here to inspire, right? But it's not, I'm here to tell you to emulate me, or that I'm emulating someone. I'm embodying myself, and I think everyone doing that is what the creator wants. It's what the expression is all about, right? And so anyway, I would love to check that out. And I love chatting with you, brother, no matter what, always. I mean, but yeah, we've gone pretty deep before.
Oh yeah.
But here, before these lights turn off on us, I want to show you guys this. I can try to make it quieter in here, but it's actually, is it okay for you guys, or is that a loud noise?
You're fine. You're fine.
Decent.
So did you finally get a hold of that mouse that was driving you nuts?
Yeah, and I put in, I got a hold of, I forget the metal place you told me, and I got some stainless steel mesh and put it down in the 4x4. But I've also had a huge change of heart about those things since then, and you'll see that when we go in the greenhouse. I'm not sure I really have updates in this room other than I tiled the floor, but you can still see I'm running real messy in here. I mean, it's definitely messy, but I'll get to that. My focus this year, before I should ever forget to say, is not abundance. It will be abundant, but my goal and focus this entire year is clearing and focus, is clearing and balance, right? And then to do that, I'm honing by asking myself, what do I want? Why? What do I want? Why? In my grow room, what do I? And it's like you can get it as big or small as you want, with as practical or philosophical as you want, with everything. And so that's just how it sounds like it could be a lot, like analytically, but I'm not. This is just how I naturally function right now, so it's not a lot for me. It's just, that's the clearing. That's like, man, this thing is in my way. But anyway, so here's the girls before the lights go off, since that's what I was saying. We can talk all day about this, but like last time, spinning plates, this is basically what it comes down to. But I'm appreciative of what's going on in here. Like a picture says 1,000 words. On video, we could go on and on, but for the sake of everyone's time, what's new in here is the tile floor and a larger blue mat reservoir. So I'm still running blue mats, but they're not invincible, and people, I hope, know that. But because Frank, he had issues with them and has went back to like hand watering. I just encourage people to not give up on that, because this is the only thing that allows me to go on vacation. I've said that before. So once I get it dialed in, as they call it, you're good to go. But let me see what else I wanted to say in here. It's just, I've had much, much, much better runs, and I'm sure all of us listening have had good and bad runs. But again, I'm not being hard on myself. It's an awareness that I hope people are hearing when I say this, that it's like, it's not about the, it's not like I'm already looking forward to next year, right? But not because I'm down about this year. It's like observation of patterns and things of like, well, I say this not being hard on myself, but it's the law of sowing and reaping, frankly, right? You can only reap what you sow. And so what I'm saying is I've learned to do that without complaint and apology. Or I'm learning to do that without complaint and apology.
Why would you say that you're not having a good run? I mean, those plants look super healthy.
From your angle on camera and everything, it looks better than not. But I mean, in the grow, I guess I see stuff that people don't, right? But I see there was a lot of burning. There's some deficiency. I'm running different lines in there. So one had a stretch issue. I think I have a iron deficiency because of the watering that was going on. So I've, just stuff I need to work on. But I'm like, I'm happy enough with it. No, I see what you see. I'm not, I don't know anyone else that would grow better bud than that personally, except one or two other people right now. And I guess that's what I'm saying. And I'm not, but it's far from my best run that I'm like, oh yeah. Like I go in there and I'm a little down, and I have to put myself into a state of gratitude. That's what I'm saying, because I realize I'm still spinning plates, and it's like, well, what do you want and why? And it's like, damn, man, here we are again, huh? And like I said last time, sometimes learnings hurt, but they're going to keep coming if you're not learning, right? So it's like, just let the pattern show itself, and then you can make an honest move. But until then, you're either fooling yourself or something else, and that's all. I know that it's like I said last time, your priorities become preoccupations, and so I've had other priorities, and that one has become a slight preoccupation, which hurts me because clearly it is one of my priorities. And anyway, that's the reflection of the work, is like,
so
what do you want?
You built a horizontal soil system.
Yeah. Yes.
So you
For
have
sure.
all the minerals in there because we tested it.
100%. Yeah. I think though the water leaching out in the bottom, because I've been chasing like running carrots, I'm spinning less plates than I have been, but for the last year, I had issues in that room, mostly surrounding water. And then rather than like taking the time and like actually assessing and resetting, I've been burning, frankly, like literally turning and burning, until I'm like, all right, man, now you've kind of like, you've hit a point where I need to stop and assess. And that's what I'm saying, even in my own person. That's where I'm like, you've burnt, your cannabis grow is suffering, and it's like my body is suffering. My body has been telling me to slow down, and you know this for years, right? But now I'm finally having to listen. And that's what I'm saying. I'm seeing this reflection in everything, but I've never felt more at peace about it. You see what I mean?
That sounds
It's
like a
cool.
really good trade-off, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Is I'm learning what to release, right? It's like you have to let things go. You can't keep all of it. What do you want and why? And it's just have that honest conversation with yourself as often as you can. For me, it's like multiple times daily because I wear so many different hats and stuff.
You know, it's
Because
interesting.
Yeah,
as I've gotten older, I tend to find myself saying, quit being lazy, get it done. And then I'm like, why am I pushing myself? That was fine when I was in my 20s and 30s, but I really don't need a lot more at this point in life. So it's not being lazy. It's just taking time to enjoy your pups or walk more or, play more, spend more time playing with compost recipes. But that's not lazy. And it's just so hard to let go of those things, Joshua. Like,
sure.
For years, I've always been push, 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 go, go, go. And then when your body finally catches up with you and says, no, no, you can't fucking do that anymore. Like I have hypertension now. I had an episode back in December, January, which landed me in ICU. And I had some time to reflect on like the rest of my health. Like my knees are gone. I have one ankle that's just bone on bone. My shoulders are gone. My spine isn't trashed. So I have like a lot of physical components that don't let me be as active as I used to be. Like I used to love to hike, and now I hike up hills, and it's just, dude, I'm in agony. Like it's not worth the time that I get to enjoy versus the pain and suffering to get there. So, and another thing is I realized I've been working 7 days a week since I was a kid, and if I don't go to work, I find myself drifting into that. Oh, you're being lazy, or I feel guilty because I didn't go make some compost today. And so finally, I listened to myself, like what you're talking about, looking in the mirror and saying, "Hey, what do you really want? Let's talk about this. Let's have a conversation." And it's like, I love being outside. I love, just observing nature, right? And my dog's trainers, Robin, kept telling me, like, dude, you need to take at least one day off. I mean, you're fucking 61. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And she goes, look, I have this friend, Jeff, who plays Frisbee golf every week. He goes, why don't you go join him for one? Just see if you like it. Just get out of here. Just go take half a day off yourself. So I brought my pups, and he has a dog. Oh my God, they had a blast. Dude, they were just tearing around. It was chasing the disc. It was great. It was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. What a great time. And I'm getting exercise, dude, but I'm not pushing it. I'm not like hiking up a mountainside. I mean, yeah, there's hills. There's a couple pretty steep parts where I have to really take it easy, mind my foot traction to make sure I don't slip out from underneath me, because my feet just don't bend like they used to. But what a fucking difference that's made in my quality of life, because, you know, again, I had to let go of a lot of the physical exercise. Like, I used to love to walk the beach. Can't do it anymore. My ankle just fucking gives out because the sand is so soft. So I've lost that. You know, I've lost so many of the things that I treasured before, you know, my body has just kind of corrupted. And so that was something that I found, and it lines up perfectly with what you're saying about, like, hey, you know, go look in the mirror, just self-check. Like, what are you all about? What are you pushing? Why are you pushing so hard? You know, what are you trying to get out of this? Are you going to destroy your body just because you can, or because you feel lazy?
Yeah.
You know, so dude, I struggle with the same things that you're talking about, and
I think we all do. That's the whole. It's like we're doing the inspiration, right? That's the whole point. It's like, look, it's not copy me, do what I'm doing. It's like, if you know me long enough and you see change in me, here's what's happening, and I'm just witnessing myself, and it's a beautiful thing. Honestly, I've avoided it for so long. Here's the funny thing about it, because I have a really simple analogy now, but at age 14, when I was like going to like Christian church and stuff, but I was honestly seeking at the time. That's the thing. I was honestly seeking as an ignorant teenager. And that's why I was given the gift, or shown the truth, if you will, should I say. But I was praying a pestering prayer, and I was like, if it was like, why, right? Because like societal this and that. I was in middle school, and it's like, go do this so you can get a good grade, stop being lazy, blah blah blah. And I'm like, why? And then suddenly I got this, you know, I don't know if this was basically meditating. I called it praying at the time or whatever, but it was like, if I gave you everything you ever wanted, then what? And it was like, it just hit me like a freaking ton of bricks, but also in a comforting way, not a like terrifying way. But it wasn't aimed at me. My 14-year-old self knew that it was aimed at us, our culture. And because I had skyscrapers in mind and Ferraris, like literally at the moment, and I didn't want any of those things, and I still don't. And it's like, well, okay, so let's just imagine a genie all of a sudden grants everyone 3 wishes, however crazy and contradictory they are, right? Because the language of creator's paradox, right? Light creates shadow somehow. It creates matter, which creates form, which creates shadow. It's like, what the heck? That's talk about paradox. But
right.
So if we just assume that everyone gets their 3 wishes, right? Then what? Now what? What did you all want it for? What was the point? And it's like, then we missed the whole thing of enjoyment. And so when I told my pastor at the time this, he's like, have you read Ecclesiastes? And I had not. I'm like, okay, but I flipped it open, and that's King Solomon, for those that don't know. Supposedly to this day, he would have like $26 trillion, like just eclipsing the shit out of everyone. You know what I mean? In the Tribe of Billionaires, the game we all play. But I'm saying this guy had enough money and wisdom, still attributed to be one of the wisest, like who could say, right? But wisest. And it starts out like, nothing new is under the sun. What's come before will come again. Wisdom is folly. Toil is folly. Everything is folly. And I'm like, dude, this guy understands what I'm saying. However, a 14-year-old in my culture that just read that validation was gutted. I did not have a thing to reinforce it. And I was like, so I'm walking life knowing this truth of lies that everyone's living, with no thing to fill it in the, you know what I mean? And it led me down a path of like depression, frankly, for, you know, a long time, man, until maybe 3 or 4 years ago, even, if I'm being fully honest with you guys. And I mean, the darkest stuff that, you know what I mean, people talk about, and it's not unique. That's the thing, is like, we try to pretend that mental health is some unique thing, or heart attacks. It's like, well, you got to take care of yourself. And it's like, dude, no, this is pandemic, and you all know it. And the thing is, we're craving the wild, we're craving the connection. We've cut it off. You don't have to call it spirit, right? It's in everything. We just look at, like, people come here and they love the wild, and I see that. That's why I'm doing it, because that's what the whole thing is about. You guys remember Frank? Here's Frank.
Hey guys.
What's up, big guy?
How you doing?
Popping over.
Yeah, he's got the whiskers going too.
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
Everyone's got the beard except me. There you go. I can't see you in frame. It's funny how I had to take the phone out of its protective package. I feel like the picture's so crisp now.
Right.
It's been in a protective thing for like 6 years, and I was trying to send Ken a thumbnail earlier, and I was like, it looks like fog. So I took it out. I'm like, whoa, it's crisp. I haven't even touched the screen with my muddy, like permanent sand black hands. Yeah. There's just constant carbon buildup.
So there's so much truth in what you were talking about, because that reality of chasing the money is just so impregnated into our minds at a very early age. So that that being impregnated, along with the fact that every time you turn around, it costs more for this, it costs more for that. I got a new fee for that, a new fine for that, and it's just like,
right.
Every time you turn around, you're being crammed into a financial corner, and so depression is the natural reaction as a bodily defense to these circumstances that you're aware of, right? You're aware of
when you're right.
These aren't
when people are,
so
you're right. You're like, you got a chemical imbalance, you should take a pill. And it's like, or you're bipolar. It's like, dude, I've heard all of it, man. And it's like, no, I'm not wrong. And I don't want to go telling people that they're wrong, but look at the extraction society we live in. But to keep it on a positive note, the thing I was going to say, because you'll like this, it goes with soil. I live around mountains, right? I look out at them every single day. And it's like nothing I or anyone else I'm aware of in this bodily form can do is more permanent than a mountain. And even mountains are temporary. We know this. They turn to sand, right? It's just the truth. It's like, science can reinforce us if we really want to at that matter. It's like, I see it. They tumble down in stone and then they crumble into sand at my property. I watch it in life. And then the other part of that is I tell the Somerville story because he was the richest guy that came to realization. And it's like, I understand that we live in the tribe of billionaires, and it's easy to get in a state of fear and anger. And because I've lived it, I did. And so I don't point the finger at anyone there. I'm just telling you that now I've come to a point of understanding the shadow is simply a teacher, a catalyst if you let it. And embodiment is the freer. And so another billionaire story in 94, I'll keep this really quick. Ray C. Rolls, for anyone interested, he was a billionaire in 95, I think it was, and he was one of the top 3 carpet CEOs. We're talking commercial carpet, casinos, hotels, all that kind of stuff in the world, I believe, right? And so it was and continues to be a little bit toxic, polluting, and all of that kind of stuff, like things be. But he was given the book Ishmael to read, and I strongly stand by the book Ishmael in 2 ways. It's that, well, never mind. We won't get into the philosophy of Ishmael, but I recommend the book for people if they're wanting to scratch their brain. And so he read the book Ishmael and was touched by how polluting he was in the environment. And rather than going through lobbying and awareness and, however long the whole process politically would take for, 10, 15 years for those most minute thing to happen, this guy who is poised to make change in the top industry, market, decided like basically overnight to change his entire stance. He made his things basically his you buy from him, you recycle with him, and he'll give you new stuff. He went to completely like biodegradable carpentry and stuff like that. It's a really remarkable story. He since wrote stories or books. And so he was a billionaire. I'm saying, like, they're not all corrupt, and everyone can have their own opinion. It's just, I'm just saying this to inspire that there's other hope out there in that same light, if you will.
Did you ever look into Buddha at all?
Well, no, it's funny that you should say that, because Buddhism, I think, aligns most with my, we should say, spiritual belief in the least dogmatic form, but I still find it frames some dogma, if you will. Again, I just believe in the law of one. Everything's the creator.
Right, but these are like tools. They're to
sure. Take
what you want and leave the rest behind. But on your note, like he came from all this wealth and finally just like, well, there's nothing more. I don't need anything.
Right.
What could I possibly want at this point? And I think
Sure.
that's the key to freedom right there, is if you can
It
say
is.
to yourself, what more do I want? I have the dream. I'm living in Southern California. I got 2 puppies. I got no one telling me what to do, where to go, how to do it. I never think about money. I never worry about it. And it always seems to come when I need it. And it's just by getting up and being truthful with myself and not trying to chase the dollar, because every time in my life I've ever tried to chase it, it went further away. It's like the universe, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, just saying to you, hey, let go of these things. And you will be rewarded through your hard work and your dedication to helping others, right? The most rewarding thing in the world is when you help somebody else out, right? And these podcasts, I get people call me, text me, DM me, about, hey, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate you putting yourself out there in a way that most people are scared to talk about, spirit or soul, depression or function, all these things that are an integral part of who we are as human.
It's very common to everyone that I am aware of. I see the pain in people, man. I see right through the persona. That's the thing. It's like, look, I see you smiling. It's a real smile, but it's like, it's a gift or a curse, if you want to call it that, since childhood, man. I see right through I see the common thread.
Yeah, it's called being an empath, and it's got to be the hardest. I don't want to call it like illness, because it isn't. It's a gift, but it's the hardest
gift.
Yeah, it's hardest gift to deal with, because more often than not, it leads to depression. It leads to isolation. It leads to these other negative spaces, because you can't deal with it. You can't deal with these people. You walk into a room and you feel the anger and the hate, and you're like, I got to get out of here, man. Even like you said, they're smiling at you and they act like they're happy to see you. You can feel their pain and suffering, and them just wanting to scream and lash out at the world. And you turn around and you're out of there, and they're like, oh, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you talking to me? Because I don't want your negative energy, dude. I'm sorry. I'm trying to focus on being supportive and happy and being available to help people that want help, not having the soul sucked out of me because you're angry and pissed off at the world.
Yeah, and I mean, it comes in layers, right? Like I said, I mean, as a kid, I saw it, didn't know it, didn't process it. Then comes like the depression or the shell, the safety, and then comes, like you said, the spiritual kind of like that next level where it's like, oh, I'm aware and you're depressed and like you can help, but you're like, whoa, I have to preserve my energy. To now, I think I'm in a place where I really can observe with heart and knowing and hold that space, but no, it's not mine. The analogy I've had lately is, look, I've abandoned captaining the lifeboat. It's not sustainable, frankly, right? It's like, dude, we're gonna capsize. I'm draining my own vessel. We're gonna all run a riff, right? It's like, dude, and then I'm gonna have to tell everyone sorry because you thought I was the saving one, or you know what I mean? It's like, you can't do that, man. It won't work. It doesn't work for you. It won't work for anyone. And so I've jumped off the ship and I've went into the freaking water that everyone can see the shore. And it's like, guys, the choppy water is rough. You're right. But the shore is right there. And so I'm swimming my ass off. And somewhere I think I've got to shore and I'm like climbing the lighthouse and polishing the windows. Right. That's what I think I'm doing now. Making sure the foggy windows stay crisp and clear so other people can see
the way, see the path.
Yeah,
dude,
it's like we have to swim.
I struggled my whole life until I met Pauline with trying to understand, why am I different? Why am I? Well, why can't I deal with shit that everyone else seems to be dealing with? When I was a kid, I was 18, drinking beer and smoking weed. I'd go to a party and I'd leave the party and go outside and just walk around the house and look in the windows and just think about, oh, look who those people are doing. Look how happy they are. That's how fucked up I was, dude. And eventually I'd go back into the party and no one knew I was gone. No one knew that I was missing. And to me, it was like, oh, so I am a ghost, man. I really am just a fractal of friggin' the background.
Yeah. Your spirit having a human experience, brother.
I gotta jump in and say, observe, don't absorb.
Yeah, no, spot on, Ken. Spot on. And from the philosophical side of this whole point.
Yeah, no, for sure it is. It is observed, right? That's the whole scientific piece of all of it. That's why I'm saying I see the reflection in my property, I see it in my relationships, and I see it in my body. And it's so weird to see all three things at once doing the same thing. I wish I had a concrete example to give you, because that would be cool. But all I can say is I'm witnessing the pattern across my life in those three realms. It's really weird. But yeah, one of the funny things in like the regenerative farming is obviously regenerative implies a degeneration, right? It has to. The word itself implies a degeneration. And so
that's what's been going on though. We've been degenerating, harvesting everything off this planet to support money creation. So we have no choice but to go forward and regenerate. So hopefully it never does get back to that degradation that went on for the last 100 years.
Yes, on a large scale, I fully agree with you. I guess on a macro scale, on a macro scale, I agree with you. On my little micro scale, and say like my little 2x4 garden or my 4x4, and someone else on looking thinks I'm quote unquote closed loop, and it's like there's no such thing as closed loop. Do not be fooled. There's never, other than the grand universe, but I'm saying in our hands and fists, there's no such thing. There will always be an input because there's always a degradation, right? There's always, you know what I'm saying? I'm harvesting. So no matter how regenerative my actions, I can't demonize the degeneration is all I'm trying to say. However, constant degeneration is not the answer, right? We have to balance.
So
right?
I think that there's a very valuable lesson in this guy, Saint. God, I hate when I forget his name. He wrote a book back in the 1800s in England about exactly what we're talking about, like this, what he witnessed as the soil degrading, as they plowed more erosion, and just take, and he went and did some deep diving, and I think he actually went experimental and took or gained the understanding that if you take 50% from whatever you're doing and you leave the other 50% behind, you're rebuilding the soil right there. You're beyond sustainable because you're feeding it. You're not allowing it to go wild. You're just giving it, say you're growing corn, right? That's raping the soil, right? Well, not if you feed the soil corn or left half your corn there and chopped and dropped it. So I agree with you to some sense about there's no such thing as a closed loop, but I think you can get pretty damn close. Like, especially if you get into alternative energy sources, like you live on a river. Do you know how easy it would be for you to generate just a little bit of electricity through,
Well, I guess what I'm saying is it's a philosophical thing. Like nature's not closed loop, right? Like a deer eats a tree or the whatever and goes and shits somewhere else. You know what I mean? But the cycle and grand, if left to its design, is closed loop to a large effect. Yeah. But other than like those little cool ass terrarium things that I've seen, I don't like in my own activity, even if we were to say just cannabis, right? I'm not saying I agree with people like I'm going to run into a crazy plateau without issues or whatever. I'm with you in that I'm going to keep building fertility year after year. All I'm saying is the idea of the bad in it, if you will. And maybe it's just like a little too ceiling thought, but like the degeneration of itself in general, you know what I mean? It's like without degeneration, there wouldn't be regeneration is what I'm getting at. You know what I'm saying? It's a yin and yang comment is all I'm really saying.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to put it, is understanding the balance between the yin and the yang. But I don't, degradation is such a negative word that I don't think it suits what you're talking about. I think that you are, I think gardening is you're doing to the best of your ability, is putting everything back into it and building fertility for the next round.
Right.
So that in my mind is beyond sustainability, right? So, and I think that's I don't know how to frame it other than you're right. Yin and yang would be a better way to put it.
Yeah.
You have a negative. You have to have a positive. but I love the yin and yang sign because they both, even in the white side, they have a black dot, right? Which
That's what I'm
represents
getting.
the balance of the white and vice versa.
Yes.
And I don't think
That's
I don't think you can be so black and white as to say regenerative or degeneration. I think there has to be that other component of, even in degradation, you still have regeneration of some kind.
That's what I'm saying, right? When you meditate on it, it's all one thing. That's what I'm really saying, is like if I was to make an actual what we think as a closed loop, then there would never be an outside bug that would get in. There would never be you know what I mean? And that's just not real life. It's like it is open loop. I think we romanticize about things and then we attach ourselves to words. But in the yin and the yang, it knows. And it's like, well, then degeneration's not bad. It's just part of it. Like death on this plane. On this plane, duality is mandated. That's just what it is, right? And it's like, so we can either complain about it or get with it and see the shadow for the function, right? It's like, wow, it's just photons collected. What a weird thing, and laugh at it. I don't know.
Another great inspiration is the shadow effect. It was a book written by a woman who basically said that, look, there's evil in the best of humans, right? There always will be that ugly, nasty side, and a lot of people try to hide it. They act on it and then they try to hide it, and it comes out in horrible ways. Like you end up doing really harm to somebody or yourself for that matter. And I think back to that balance, that black dot in the middle of the white, you got to acknowledge it's there. You got to accept it.
That's
say, this is my bad thoughts, or this is my bad habit. I'm going to do my best to not let it control me or kill me, but I'm going to acknowledge it's there. And that I think that's a really valid or important point for people to look at. Like my stepson, who I love dearly, called me the other day, horribly depressed, like ready to commit suicide. I don't think he would have, but he was like alluding to it. And I'm like, Jake, you got so much going on for you. And I just don't understand why you can't, after all the things we went through, and we went through Illuminated Warriors and all these other, like how to be a man in 2020, like how to, or 16, how to be, masculine, but not a toxic masculine, right? And I said, you have all these tools in you that we learned about, and we went on these friggin' retreats and did all this stuff. And I said, one of the greatest takeaways that we learned was acknowledge the feeling and say, okay, I acknowledge you. I accept you. I feel your depression, but I'm not going to let it control me. I'm going to, again, acknowledge it so I don't dwell in it or spend all my time, freaking out about it. But you have to acknowledge it and say, okay, I'm going to put you in your place. I accept you, but I'm not going to dwell on you. And then I'm going to start focusing on what I need to do to get myself into that happy place, or that, space of bliss, or completeness, or sharing, or giving, or caring, all those positive things that are built up inside of you, but you're still there.
Sure.
You let them get covered up by this depression. Slowly but surely, we started talking about other things, and we had some laughs about past experiences, and so he did come out of it. But I think a lot of people get stuck in that, and they just go in this closed loop of or doom loop, as I call them, because eventually, the more you talk about your depression, the more depressed you get. Like there was this amazing study done by this psychologist who had, 500-600 patients that she interviewed across both psychiatry and what's the other one? There's two of them, psychiatrists, psychologists, right? Two different branches.
Yeah.
And she figured out some were on medication, some were not. I think it was like 50% were on meds, 50% weren't. And the one thing that she learned was that the ones that were on the medication continued to spiral downhill because the medication made them only think about what they were doing. And the ones that were not on the medication were slowly breaking away from their treatment because they realized that the more they talked about it, the worse they felt about it. So they started focusing on things that made them feel better or rewarded them or, made them happy, and so they were able to drift out of treatment is what I'm trying to say. So that's another big lesson about letting your inside hyper focus on something and not allow the yin and the yang to balance out. And so I'm so happy you brought this topic up, because I think it's very beneficial for people to hear this, that there is help. It's called you, right? You can help yourself. You can acknowledge it, accept it, and then move on.
Sure. It's going to keep coming if you don't acknowledge it and embrace it, frankly. That's the thing, is if you look at it as a bad thing, then you're missing the lesson entirely. And for me, I think I've said on here before, adversity has been my best, longest standing teacher. And for me, it's been harder to let joy start to finally be my teacher and let love in. That's what I'm doing now. I'm seeing and letting love in. I've been praying to, whatever I pray to like soften my heart, and it's been working, and it's like it's changing my entire life. But I've been praying that prayer a long time.
Well,
it takes a while.
I'll be honest, you seem a lot happier now. I remember probably 3 years ago or 4 years ago, you were talking about the soil and how frustrated you were, and you were growing all these weeds, and you just couldn't get the garden to take, and you're fighting instead of enjoying.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I was just physical in body then, you know what I mean? It's like my body was telling me to isolate, right? That's the depression in your mind. It's like those things become manifest in your mind and body, and that, I think, shuts off your spirit, or in a way, I don't know, or blocks the channel or something. And like thank God, I say, something told me that I wasn't connected to spirit, and it literally broke me open. But I'm having to learn patterns again, right? It's like so foreign. It's like, man, you put stuff on the back burner so long, I don't even know what it looks like, right? And it's like, well, it looks like just the littlest thing, asking yourself what and why. And that literally is the cure. I'm telling you, man, love is the answer. Sure, love is the medicine, but what is the question? What and why? And it's like, if you don't ask yourself that, then you're stuck with someone else's what and why, and that's all there is to it. It's just the hardest thing in the world. You're right. And then, but beyond that is the disbelief that we can't have it, and that's what's unfortunate. I can't tell someone that they need to have faith in their thing, or all I can show you is the nightstands. I can tell you stories that I haven't told you. It's like I can go on and on and on with crazy validations that I'm going to write. I'm going to write a book, or at least a chapter in a book of Grow and Tell is going to be titled Vignettes of Validations, just literally about this topic right here, where when you know what you want and I'm going to say, use the word prayer, connect about it, align to it. You know what you want and you have faith that's coming to you. It comes in the weirdest, craziest ways. It does. And, but that is I guess a slight aside. I'm just, forgot where I was going with that.
That's right. So I think what is very important is that humanity has been taught, if you want something, go get it. Instead of, if you want something, let it come to you. Right. Earn it. Like, don't just sit there and go, all right, when am I getting it? But go for it. Like, you put in your hard work, and whether it's meditative, prayer, or just physical work, you got to earn it. Because if it gets handed to you, you won't respect it. Right? The story of the little boy with a brand new bike who wanted to impress everybody. He would ghost drive his bike down the driveway, let it crash into the bushes, right? And one day his dad comes home and says, "Where's your bike?" "Oh, shit, I left it in the bushes a week ago." And brings it home, and it's all rusted and banged up. And dad's like, "Dude, that was a brand new bike. What did you do to it?" Right? He didn't respect it because he didn't earn it. And then you have the other kid who was cutting lawns for the whole summer. Right? 3 friggin' months, 2.5 months, cutting people's lawns and trimming and raking. And then finally at the end of the summer, or the early fall, he has enough money to buy his bicycle. Now that kid's going to keep that thing in the garage. He's going to oil the chain. He's going to take care of it because he earned it. And I think that's the big piece, that people, they want it, but they don't want to earn it. Right. And so the hard lesson is that, manifestation is great, but you got to put in the work still. Right. You can't just want it.
That's the thing, is like, yes, there is some weird, fine, divine line there, because I love how Jim Carrey puts it. He's one of the, he has this, I think it's a commencement speech, but it's amazing. And I love, in there, he says, as far as I can tell, it's about letting the universe know what you want and working toward it while letting go of how it comes to pass. And that's it right there.
Damn,
I swear it is.
Oh, dude, that hits home. That's beautiful.
That's it. But that's the thing is people don't do the work. What do you want? You don't even let the universe give you an opportunity to let it come because you're not sitting to do the hard work. The hardest work is asking yourself, what do you want? I swear it is. That's the hardest work. And then my other analogy to it, though, is this was some YouTube rip. I'm not going to take full credit for it, but anchor, align, surrender, persist. And it sounds paradoxical again, but the creation's language is paradoxical. The anchor is understanding is something, you're part of something bigger, right? Life is in you. You cut your hand, it heals. You can't stop the healing. You can pick the scab, you can do all that stuff, but it will continue to try to heal. That is not yours, right? Your heart will beat. It's not yours, right? The gift of life is something beyond us, if you will. So you anchor to that and then align to what you want. And then you surrender while persisting. And then, so analogy physically, we're going to look at that mountaintop over there. That's my anchor. I'm going to align with my anchor, right? I'm going to choose a path. Now, I don't get to choose what comes on my path. I have to surrender to that, but I'm going to persist on my path. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I can't tell you how to get to that mountaintop. You have your own path and your own things that you have to surrender to and your own, you know what I mean? But that's the work. It's the hardest work of my life. And it's everyone's work. That's what I'm saying. But it's all unique. Behind it is what's unique. And that's the answer to our culture. And that's the answer, you know. So I don't blame people for where they are. I've been there, man. I've had the darkest thoughts. I've done the worst things. I'm living a life of repentance. I really am. And
well, I think it's important to understand that we all are, right? We've all made mistakes. No one's perfect. There's no Jesus Christ walking amongst us that is, you know, infallible. So, you know,
sure.
no matter who you are, you've made mistakes in life. And often those mistakes have taught you to be a better person if you paid attention to them. Right.
That's it. Yeah. They're my learnings, as painful as they are.
Yeah.
They're my learnings.
And there is really no such thing as a mistake. It's just a lesson. Right. And whether it's a hard lesson or an easy lesson, if you don't learn from your lessons, then you just spin in circles. You go around and around.
Yeah.
Never accomplish
win or
anything.
learn, never lose.
Right. And then you get depressed, frustrated because nothing seems to be working out for you. And so in your own shame, you get pissed off at other people, right? And blame everybody else.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, I told you, it's like of the river, right? The river is the flow of life. And you get caught by some obstacle and you're stuck in the eddy spinning around and around and around and around. You can't get back in the flow. And everyone else is flowing on by, ignorant as they are in their flow. You're pissed off at their ignorance and all that shit because you learned something and you don't know how to transmute it. You're like, God, I had this fucking learning and I just... Sorry, anyway, I'm trying to keep my
ignorance is bliss, bro. Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. And then you start learning. You're like, what am I supposed to do with this responsibility that I, you know, it's like, yeah, man. But like I said, I really am grateful for my pain. It's right there where I'm like, it's not in the fullest place of gratitude. It could be because it's still pain. You know what I mean? It's like I'm trying to fully embody it and I'm close. I know I am. I have to just fully forgive myself for a couple of things and I'll be there. But
we're all a work in progress, my friend. We're all working.
Yeah, it's a tree, right? How tall does a tree grow?
Forever.
As tall as it possibly can.
And where does the tree end and the soil begin? It doesn't.
Exactly.
It's infinite, right?
Exactly.
So it's infinitely part of a bigger system that we all are. And dude, you'll love that podcast I did with Ken. I went off the fucking deep end, dude, big time. Like I just ripped for 2 hours, maybe even a little longer, about all of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to dig into it.
It's designed to be inspirational. It was designed so that hopefully, and I repeatedly said this, hopefully the right ears find this and it gives them what they need to power on and move forward and grow and evolve. So that's why I was going to do it. But it was again, I've done a couple of them where I revisited some hard times in my life and how I ended up getting these kinds of philosophical ideas or concepts. And it always came from pain, dude. It always came from pain. Like if I hadn't gone through the most painful thing in my life, the divorce, I wouldn't have switched to friggin' aquaponics. I'd have been stuck doing carpentry and stonework and wondering, why I wasn't getting anywhere, why I was miserable, why I was always chasing the dollar and never had time to enjoy anything. And a couple of times in my adventure or the early times in my life, I would be like, what am I actually doing, man? I'm not helping the environment. I'm making it worse. I'm developing land. I'm putting additions on people's houses, using materials that are harvested from the earth or poisoning the earth when they're being made, and so, as rewarding as it is to build something or to make this beautiful stone countertop or wall unit, that's all so rewarding, because at the end of the day, you can look what I did, and people, oh, wow, how did you do that? Unlike a guy in a bank doing this all day. I mean, I had an incredibly rewarding, past lives in these different, careers. But at the end of the day, it didn't fill my heart and my soul with joy of like, now I get to see a tree come back to life. I mean, how cool is that?
Well, that's the other thing that Jim Carrey says in that same speech. So just look up Jim Carrey's speech for anyone that's interested. It's one of his more famous ones. But he also says, I often wish that people could realize all of their hopes and dreams and potential, or something, so they would realize that's not where your sense of completion is. And it's funny because you said this, the kid with the bike, and the story I've been kind of saying lately is the gambler who walks in the casino door and they're like, "Congratulations, sir." He's like, "Wait, what?" He's like, any table he goes to, he's just like, "You already won." It's like, what the heck is going on here? You know what I mean? He'd be so mad. It would just be really funny. Be like, "No, this isn't what I don't understand." Like, he'd be happy the first day, maybe the second, and like, but that's really not what the point is. You get it? It was like, gambling. Like, it would piss him off.
Hit the wall the Buddha hit. Sooner or later, hit that wall.
What do I want? Like, all right, what is it that I really want? Yeah, what's the satisfaction really coming from? But like I said, I'm allowing love to teach me, and my daughter, she's 6. We've been here.
Damn, she's
6 years
already?
in July. Yeah, man. And there's so many moments that I've had to just look at it through eyes of pain. You know what I mean? Trying to let that love soften my heart. And it's like, I've been in a bad place, man. And just letting her work on me. You know what I mean? Letting her soul work on me. And it's like, now I'm seeing it through different eyes entirely. I'm just seeing the love. I'm seeing all of it as love, all of it. And that's what I'm saying. I'm starting to love the shadow, not shun the shadow anymore. Not be like, oh, I shouldn't be like that. I should be like this. It's like, no, man, just sit with it. Why is it here? It's here because you haven't learned. Love the shadow. There's a lesson trying to show you something. Love the shadow. And so that's where I'm at. Even patterns, right? I haven't been drinking, but it's like, it took me a long time where I'm like, it's not about the drinking. For me, it was about presence, where I'm like, damn, I drink 2 IPAs and I'm not present anymore the way I want to be. I love beer. That's the problem. So the thing is, like, I'm not going to demonize the pattern. I'm observing it like a cloud. Like, why is it here? I don't know. And then you slowly start to see things shift, or maybe it's not suiting you anymore. Or maybe you do call on your higher self to, ask what our next,
This brings up a really interesting point that has been my lesson since Pauline passed, was that I kept hearing, well, we all make life choices. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, so you view my choices on the way I live badly? You think I'm being self-destructive, or I'm not living my best life? And this was repeatedly, people were saying this, that basically alluding that I was making bad choices in life because I wasn't chasing the dollar, because I wasn't trying to buy a house or buy a brand new car or pickup truck. And it's like,
right.
I almost felt bad for him, but it took me like probably 2 years before I realized, holy shit, there are so many lost people out there that when I start to say this stuff, it insults them. Like, I had a dude tell me, when we were this company I'm working for, long story short, got a new CEO. And one of the first things he did is, all right, what do you do here at this company? Like, explain to me why we should keep you hired. I was kind of like, wow, all right, what a dick, right? All right, so you're CEO. I understand that you have a responsibility to the board members as well as the shareholders to make sure that your company is functioning responsibly financially. So I went on to explain it all to him, and at the end I said, I'll be honest, Dan. Like, I'm not all about the money. I'm here for the science. Like, I think that what you guys do is the key to regenerating soil on millions of acres. And so I'm really about that. I go, yes, I ask for a paycheck. It's not a big one. It doesn't sustain me. I still have to go out and work and hustle to earn money to survive. But bottom line is that, no, I'm not interested in getting paid, when you guys go public $1 million. I don't want it. You can keep that money. Just all I care about is enough money for me to survive, get up every day, go to work, or play Frisbee golf now 1 day a week. That's all I want. And he was insulted. He freaking got in my face and was like, I hate people that say they're not about the money. They're lying. Everybody's all about the money. And I was just like, whoa, dude. Like, take it easy, man. And ever since then, he hasn't trusted me. He will not trust me. How fucking crazy.
There's a story I haven't written yet, or rather I haven't published. I think I'm going to put it on the website, but I've titled it In God We Trust. And it's literally about $1 that I've kept since 2005. So I was with my high school girlfriend. I'll keep this really short. I was with my high school girlfriend, and we were fishing the Base Lake in Omaha or Bellevue at the time. We were the only people there all day long. It was not a good day for fishing, but I liked fishing, so that's what we wanted to do. And this girlfriend liked doing it with me. That was great. And I since then don't really enjoy fishing as much anymore, but that's a different story. I find it kind of, I don't know, unfair in a way. But anyway, so I'm fishing the lake with the girlfriend, and like, it's been all day. I'm tired. I'm like, dang, let's go to the little tackle bait shop here on the lake and get a drink. We drove around the lake, right? It's a decent drive to go around to the tackle shop, whatever you want to call it. And there was the only other car there, and in a gravel railroad type parking lot. And I grabbed a cherry Coke or a cherry Pepsi, I can't recall, and she grabbed an Aquafina or Dasani. And I started chugging mine on the way to the counter because I was like that arrogant. I'm like, look. And then it was like at that moment that I realized I remembered. I'm 18 years old. So I remembered I'd taken my money out and put it on the nightstand. Not the ones I have currently, but the nightstand at the time. And was like, you idiot, bro. Like, I was like, do you have $1? And like, I think she must have had $1 or something. So I was $1 short on these two drinks that the guy probably could have been nice and been like, yeah, I got you, bro. But that wasn't the case. And so I walk outside and I'm like, I'm like, I guess I'm going to leave my girlfriend here while I drive 5 miles to the closest ATM like a loon. And so, or like an idiot. But then I go outside and literally like a loon start praying out loud to God. I'm like, God, please let me find $1. Please let me find $1. God, please let me find $1. Like over and over like that, like a dang mantra. And I'm looking down on the ground. And here's the key, though. At this point, I'm 18. We've all pictured, or we've all found $1 in our life, right? Praise be. Yeah. And so I'm looking around. I can picture what it looks like, is what I'm saying. I can literally picture what that would be. And so I am looking around this railroad tie parking lot. I'm like, yeah, the wind would blow in from the east and get snagged on that parking lot railroad tie right there. And no such luck. So I hop in my car to drive to the ATM, and there's a check on my console that I had written to myself because we were in Hurricane Katrina. So we reestablished ourselves. And I don't know, there was a bank thing to write a check for $1 to open an account or some shit. I don't know. I had a check for $1 to myself. And I called my girlfriend while I'm still driving around the lake. And I'm like, hey, will they take this $1 if I endorse it, or this check? And she said, yeah. So I flipped the car around, park at the exact same spot, and there's that $1. And I have that $1. I kept $1. And dude, I've counted pennies to go do weekly UAs when I was on probation. All right. I've been broke, man. I've ran out of gas trying to get Taco Bell for my son. I don't eat Taco Bell anymore, but I'm just saying, when I wanted those $1 burritos, because that's what I had, and I ran out of gas, I've been broke and I have not spent that $1. Nice. It's a reminder to remember. And even when I didn't understand what it meant, it was like, yo,
that's a great story.
Science can't explain that. You know what I'm saying? Science can't explain that. And I'm not a scientist in the way that beyond observation and joy. That's what I like. But yeah, that's the creation level that I'm trying to get on, that I think that I am on. It's like like I said, I can give you those kind of stories all day long that would be like, bro, slow down. You might be going crazy. It's like, no, I'm not, bro. Trust me. I'm not. But I wanted to show you guys real quick the greenhouse, if we can reach over there. Because that's the only actual practical updates that I have. You want to walk to, or go ahead.
I'd love to see your grapevines too. How are they doing?
Oh yeah, we were here. Yes. I just know you have to go in I think 24 minutes, right? You said?
Yeah, you're good. If we go a couple minutes, it'll be fine.
So this is the first year. Actually, I just did these too. Can you see the vineyard steps?
Yep.
I'm so happy about those. Frank, those are your rail ties, bro. Frank, I got those from Frank for free, some of them. The gift gives, man.
Look at that.
And these this is the first year I bagged them because, and so this is the funny thing. Ishmael is all about putting our culture or putting the humans of the globe into two cultures, leavers and takers. You can guess which one we are. We're the takers. We take everything. We take it all for granted. We take it all. We take it all. We take it all and more. Now and more, right? The leavers leave it to, this is his words. And I think he I guess died an atheist, but also like, I think Buddhist animist or something, doesn't matter. Because it doesn't matter. But his other one was the leavers are the tribes of the hunters and gatherers that leave it to the hands of the gods. And what I'm trying to do in my life is the most I can is to leave it to the hands of the gods, right? To leave it to creator. And so this is the only reason I'm saying this is because this is one of the most taker actions I have right now, is because I'm realizing, like, I don't know how to grow grapes without, like, basically the birds and the squirrels and the raccoons get my grapes if I don't do this. And all the vineyards around, because we're in Vine Nation, American viticultural area. I looked it up because we were stumbling on that last time. American viticultural area. It's a government sanction. It's a federal sanctioned thing or labeled thing. Anyway, doesn't matter. But we're a grape growing region, and all the people cover with nets, and it tears my heart because then, while I think the fence is one of our best defenses, proactive defenses against nature, protecting our or against wildlife, protecting our stake, if you will. The bird net kills animals. They get caught in the bird net, or they get caught in the nets. Snakes get caught in there. Other animals get caught in there, and they can't get out. And it's like they're also plastic. So we all live in the world of plastic. But these little plastic things, I'm not trying to justify. I'm going to reuse them over and over and over as much as I can. And if it doesn't work this year, I'm not going to do it again. Also, this would only work at my scale because no commercial person is going to send or pay anyone that amount to go bag every little cluster of grapes. It was tedious, to say the least. So, but yeah, the grapes are looking sweet, man. This is our best grape year.
Do you leave any for nature? Like, do you leave some?
I do, yeah. No, of course I do. Yeah, there's the smaller clusters that are like, that I'm like, I think easier to get to also. But the other cool thing, so before I go in the greenhouse, then, since you asked the question, I have to cop to this because this happened, I think, I don't know, man, when I was going through fire in my heart. I don't know if you guys can see that cracked window right there.
Yep.
I shot an arrow through that window at a rock squirrel because I was so ticked off that these things were like plaguing my garden. But I've since then sent them so much love. I've shot them, I've killed rock squirrels, but now I hear them and I, sing them praise, and I love them, and I try to coexist with as many things as possible. Killing is my least favorite thing, and at this point I kind of refuse to do it. But there's this cool, I built this archway with an intern last year. And for the sake of time, it's growing mint and stuff, and it's not allowing other stuff to grow. And that was going to be a teaching moment for a tour that I did not hold. But I just want to show you some cool spaces that I'm working on. Yeah. This is going to be done with pavers when I get back from this current vacation. 6 years here. We're going on vacation that day. It's like celebrate 6 years of vacation, I guess. But the aquaponics, I finally did. And this is version 4.0 though, so you can see from here this paved vined area, right? You see the arch, that's already growing some saved beans. That's one of my favorite beans. So move the clutter out of your mind there. That's not going to go there. This is just going to be pavers and a picnic bench area for people to hear that nice sound of water. The vented greenhouse air is coming out here. It's so nice. But my daughter and I poured this slab the other day for this half in, half out IBC tote, right? It's like that indoor outdoor swimming pool for fish. And so I'm just getting out of the stagnant energy, right? Clearing it, asking yourself what and why. Because if it's not on that list, then get rid of it. Frankly, give it to someone else that you know is going to benefit from it, or just get rid of it if you have to. That's my least favorite way, but clear the energy, right? Clear the energy. Sorry, rock squirrels. I'm getting space brain because I'm trying to save time. My son and I built this the other day. I don't know if you can see. It's hard to see that angle. The vine tunnel.
So much improvements on that property since I was there. How many years ago was I there? Like 6?
I think you came in 22, right? Maybe.
Yes. Yeah, Pauline died in 22. That's why I came in 22.
But yeah, I'll just remind everyone again, for a sake of inspiration, not like, again, I'm not trying to promote ourselves or anything like that. We're on 1.78 acres. We're not on like some expansive spalling. So I still understand stacking functions and density, and having to ask yourself what and why. You don't just get to have it all. And even if you have all that acreage, you can't just get to have it all because you're limited by time and money, like all of us. But here to the rock squirrel, where's one? I want to show it to you. Okay. This is inside my driveway fence, which is a whole nother long story. Last year was supposed to be my year for homesteading and finally committing to this, but my neighbor who we talked about last podcast with me getting a tractor and the gravel decided to flip the script and was like, hey, we're going to put up gates so you guys can't come through here anymore. We basically picture yourself building a property for 5 years and then completely changing where you come in from it at. Right? My backyard had to become my front yard. It was crazy. So anyway, we have our own private entry now. It's great. No one else comes down here. It's beautiful. I'm working on its permaculture in that way, right? I'm lining the fence with flowers and whatnot. But inside so there's my driveway. This is inside my fence line. I mean, we own that too. We own but I'm saying for deer, they get to walk over there. They can browse whatever they want. I have to keep some stuff, right? But if this was outside the fence, I'd be like, oh, it's deer. But no, this is rock squirrels browsing this lamb's quarters, which is a weed, right? They also prefer amaranth over my zucchini, over my other inward garden plants, other than lettuce. They really like lettuce, which kind of irritates me, but they prefer certain kinds of lettuce. I'm observing, use that word, because here, further in the fence, is a red lettuce versus a green oak leaf and a green romaine that they did not eat. So observation is the boss. And here's a lamb's quarters that's a little further in and getting less browsed. So we have like 17 cats that hunt the area. I own none of them, but they're extreme hunters, and so I don't have to kill things. To that analogy I began before, if you let a gopher make enough noise, right? If I go around killing all the gophers, first of all, it's going to hurt my heart, because, well, it's just going to hurt my heart. But if I let a gopher make a big enough ruckus, the cats are going to find him. I've watched cats take 2 gophers away in one day, right? It's like you have to allow the wild to be in order for the wild to be. I don't know how else to put that, right? It's like you can't. That's the only way you get to have your cake and eat it too, I guess. But so observation showed me last year that if I left these weeds, the squirrels, my nuisance, preferred those. And it's like, okay, we can coexist then. We can find some sort of level of coexistence where I don't have to be angry in my heart and hurting animals I don't want to hurt. Because I can't tell that to my daughter. She knows it's wrong. So tell your daughter that, you know what I'm saying?
This is a great lesson. I was working with a client up in Humboldt County, a cannabis grower, commercial scale, outdoor, full sun. And they had this area that was kind of like a bowl, a natural bowl. And they go, okay, we want to utilize it better than we have right now. And so I'm like, all right, well, we'll just build a spiral terrace that goes up so that you have all these benches that you can plant on. And they're like, so showing me like the area. So, you know, I'm kind of like getting the layout of it. And they're like, yeah, we're really struggling with these deer, man. They come in here and they raid our crop. I'm like, okay,
Sure.
is there a specific cultivar that they're going after? And yeah, they only
Right.
after blue dream. And I'm like, all right,
Blue
plant
dream?
a blue dream
Good
all the way around the outside of this, 2 plants deep, so that they don't even
Right.
think to get to the second plant. Now you'll
Exactly, right?
harvest, and they're not going to jump the fence, get hung up, rip it down. They're not going to rip up the rest of the garden to get to the blue dream. And they're like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? So here again, just
Totally.
a bunch of that red lettuce, on both sides of the fence, and whatever they
Yep.
leave, you harvest. And that way, you're sharing the space with them, and hopefully they're breeding and feeding the cats.
Exactly. That's where it's like, dude, I can't have any malice or attachment into it. In my heart, it's like, look, man, if the cat gets you, I don't know. It's like, look, it's not mine. I don't know. But it's funny. This goes into segue because keeping in line with the greenhouse. Oh, wait, how do I turn the phone around? We did this last time. Camera.
There you go. Down the
See,
bottom.
camera facing back. Let me see. Did that flip it? Let's see.
There you go.
All right, cool. Oh, it's reversed for me, but that's okay. I'm checking out what the greenhouse temp and stuff is right now. It says we're at 77 degrees in here. It's definitely not 77 outside. And so before I go to the roly-polies, because this is really cool, an aha moment and observation, and then I'll wrap that part up. Last year, my exhaust fan, I'm pointing at it. That's all that matters. Was right there. And my cooler was out back where that patio paver area was. The patio paver's east, so it was getting hit with sun all day long, basically, because it's a greenhouse, right? So the sun was hitting that cooler almost all day long, versus now it's just barely starting to hit it. We're under a pine tree, which we spoke on before. It's not the ideal placement for cannabis growing in a greenhouse under a pine tree that's shaded at 130. But that exhaust fan is incredibly loud to my casita guests, which are right there when it vents. Last year and all the years prior, because this thing was getting beat on by the sun, it was running and it was running. So it's like, what the hell am I doing? It took me either peeing in the facilities or smoking over here or something to realize this is cool air that collects over here for most of the day under this pine tree and on the west side of this greenhouse. Like, it's a really cool pocket of air. And so I'm like, damn, all right, what should I do? Well, I'll commit a day to switching them around. So I swapped my vent fan up over there in the corner behind that blue 55-gallon drum that's gravity-fed blue mat. And then I put my cooler here. But, man, this fan has not kicked on since. And I'm talking, we went through 106 days up here. It has literally been night and day.
Nice.
And then I also did the work with my cooler where I cleaned out, like I hardcore cleaned it out. Like I de-scout everything. I give it a new pad every year, but I did some hardcore work, and I'm changing the water every day, which is going to help me prolong the life of my pump and stuff. But so that said, it's 78 degrees in here. That's nice. Feeling great. What's going on though? The roly-polies I was going to talk about real quick. So before I forget, and then I'll give you the greenhouse tour. The straw berries, right? On the straw, like we talked about last year. But you remember last year I grew 2 years ago, I grew oat straw to make medicine. The medicine was in the seed head, so therefore I didn't get reseeding, right? Much. So they didn't reseed here. This is actually wild straw growing in my driveway, a different part of my driveway around the corner, but it's got seed. It's fully seeded. So after the effect, basically, I should have done this in spring, but this wasn't grown out in spring. I'm still kind of like ebbing with the pendulum, right? It's like, but I still did it. So now it's going to reseed next year on time. But all this time, I've been growing strawberries. This has been hard, growing and producing strawberries since February. It's insane. It's just going and going and going. And this is horizontal, but to my point, I think when I get blue mat issues, I do see some chlorosis, which doesn't bother me as much because I see the plant come and go in response. It's a lot of times when it's putting out abundant fruit and or runners. Anyway, roly-polies. Sorry. So we know the roly-polies like the strawberry. We talked about this last time. The straw is one of the fixes. But I think, and I forget if I mentioned this last time, because you had mentioned beer beer something. I wrote it down and left my notes over there, but that's okay. They prefer green onions, man. They prefer the hollow stem of green onions, and I don't have any in here now, but occasionally whenever Rolly, and I did a post about this on Instagram a few weeks back, I think a couple weeks or whatever. They will prefer the hollow stem of roly-polies, and in that post that I did a few weeks back, it's actually featuring little 4-inch bottomless cups that I'm using as collars, like I did before, to keep them away from my beans that I saved. And let's see if I can find my mantis girl in here. I found this really cool pink mantis. I've got mantises again this year.
Nice.
But let me actually, this is what I want to see if I can show you. Aside from, like I said, feed them, right? Like the deer. It's like once I've observed that the roly-polies like the green onions, because they're decomposers. They're only eating your green leaves out of desperation, if you will. It's not their preference. So put something soft enough, decomposing enough in their palate down. And anyway, so that was an observation. I swear by it. Green onions, give them to them, and they like them more than strawberries. And you can put them right next to the thing they've been eating, and you'll see them all in there like a little tunnel. And then if you want to, Leighton, like you said, remove that hollow stem, and you've removed 40 roly-polies, right? Like the beer can, whatever. I don't even do that. I don't care anymore. I know they're soil building. They're not problematic as long as they have something to eat. But I want to show you these because I've shown you this, Leighton, in a sketch, right? But I've never shown this on the podcast before. I think the last time I was using the bottomless was the fabric ones from Grassroots. And just because of my environment, well, now I've switched everything with the cooler. I'd be curious how they perform. Maybe next year I'll try it. But my environment deemed I needed a side, right? And so I don't know how I can set this up without mess. I'll just try to do it one-handed. The bottom pot is not bottomless. The bottom pot has an E horizon that's about that deep, right? Yeah. And then the inside is an A and an O. So this is a bottomless pot, the top one, right? So I'm just going to set that on my soil, transplant shock none, and my E horizon has been doing its job the entire time. The only difference is it's going to be different when it gets here, right? It kind of tricks it, and I noticed that a little bit, but it doesn't. I wouldn't call it transplant shock. I would call it something else. I think it actually likes it more because those roots are trying to go into E, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we're out of," you know what I mean? So you give them a fresh layer of O and A again, and they're like, "Oh, dude."
Yep.
But anyway, other than these are obviously not knee high by July, that's another. There's just stuff going on. I'm getting there, and I'm okay with it. I'm waiting for these to sex, and I'm okay with them being slow because I'm going on vacation soon. So actually, that helps me for them to not be ready right now. Yep. So, but yeah, I've got a little more than. Well, I've got enough in here. Let's just say that. But half of them are going to be males, so I'm going to get rid of half of them. I'm probably not going to run seeds this year because of the whole spinning plates things. But a reminder to people again, I'm still using these same cheapy lights. It was $100. It's 6 of them. And all I'm doing is disrupting their REM, we should say, for lack of better words, right? They kick on at 4:30 in the morning, not 4:20 like last time. They kick on at 4:30 and they turn off at 9:30, I think, because the sun's fully up by then. Then they kick on again at 1:30 because of the shade that comes into this greenhouse, unfortunately. And they shut off at like 8:30. So they're getting, they're not like highly illuminated lamps. They're just getting light that's not letting them sleep. Yeah. And I'm, unfortunately, like I said before, I'm only growing in this greenhouse because of untimely rains and lack of wind when we do get rains here. It's not ideal. I don't want to grow moldy buds. So I have indoors and I have a greenhouse currently, but there are trade-offs to everything, every practice I'm aware of, right? And again, for the sake of time, real quick, I know I'll start here. This thing is my former, this was version 3.0 aquaponics, right? I mentioned the pond liner, which I finally dug out a year after I mentioned it on the podcast. And I finally dug it out and it had like 5 leaks in it when I finally strung it up. A brand new pond liner, right? But at this point, you can't take it back to the store and be like, hey, it has leaks. I'm like, when did you even buy this thing?
Right.
So I patched it 5 times full of water, right? With Flex Seal, God bless, right? But I got frustrated with this thing and it still had a micro leak. And then I switched my little 17-gallon, half of a 17-gallon barrel, and that was the grow bed. But I put cocoa in it, and I didn't rinse it well enough. And lack of testing and lack of whatever is going to tell my hunch that the tannins killed my fish overnight. And it was a really hard learning. I was not devastated, but it really hit me pretty hard when my 32 goldfish died nearly overnight because of my dumbass mistake like that. It's like, because hastily I was like, oh, this cocoa will look good, I was going to use it as a mulch, and like I had all these things, these taker things, right? And it's like, I just want it. Why? I'm like, so I didn't really have the why, I just wanted it. And then so I thought through it a little bit, but I knew I didn't rinse it well enough, and that haste ended up being a waste and a learning for me. So thank you to my goldfish that taught me that. But now this also, you might know, Leighton, just by doing aquaponics, this is clearly not a one-to-one media water system here. I'm like running 125 gallons of water and filtering maybe 25 gallons of media. So I'm like 5-to-1 instead of 1-to-1. But that's okay for me. I'm just doing hobby stuff over here. And this is a teaching tool, right? I'm going to grow my lettuce, my squirrel-proof lettuce, part of it. But this is a teaching tool for when I do workshops and stuff. Some people are still, as you know, really, really intrigued by aquaponics, especially these low budget, like just DIY bell siphon. It's like, whoa, wow, I can do that. It's inspiring. So what I'm doing with this is now an EAO, the tallest one I've ever done. The sucker's 3 feet tall. And my vineyard steps, though, because I was like kicking and screaming where I'm going to get this much E and not wanting to do it. This is also the biggest, like that's probably like 3-inch minus. This was the riprap that was underneath my vineyard steps when I decided to redo those finally, right? So it's like a blessing that when I did that work, I found the substance for this work, and you know what I mean? That's what I keep saying, that kind of blessing. I also use this area.
You're going to wash in a bunch of sand, right?
What's that? Yeah. I haven't put the sand in yet. I put in like some of our finer sand, which I wish I put the coarser in first, but I'm still going to put the coarser sand on top.
It doesn't matter. Just as long as you wash it in. As long as you wash it in, it doesn't matter.
For sure. No, and water ran through, but yeah, I'll wash it in. But it's funny, observation too, real quick, and I guess we can wrap up with this. I use this area to save seeds too. This is because seeds are, like I said, one of my favorite workshops, and they're so abundant, right? The story that I wrote, the kid's book that I wrote, is A Carrot Wants to Flower. And that's where I'll end. If you remind me to go out to see a carrot flower, please. That's where I would say we should end if we got the time. This bag is full of shard seeds, right? And it was maybe like 8 plants, but it's like one. So I don't know. We'll just say 20 seeds. Say I started with 20 seeds. It's just incredibly abundant. And one of my favorite things in gardens to do with little kids is seed saving workshops, where you take a big arugula plant with 1,000+ seeds on it, and you can literally math this. We did this with my daughter's school. We broke apart the seed heads, and like we didn't fully guesstimate the full number, but we saw, there's 20 in this pod, 20 on this branch, 20 branches. It's like, dude, holy cow, from one seed. And so nature's incredibly abundant. Now my weeds, which I meant to say this earlier, a weed, in my favorite definition, is just a plant that's out of place. So yeah, let's do that. Let's go out here real quick.
So Josh, my saying is it's an indicator plant, because every plant will tell you something. Tells you what the deficiency is and how it's trying to move it successionally.
But to my point, this is a path, and I don't want to be indicated of anything other than my ass walking on it. So it's like, these are just my favorite plants that are out of place, right? It can be the best plant, but it's out of place. So it's a weed. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm with you on the other definition 100%. That's my only other definition to a weed. But here's a carrot in the path that, do I have it in? It's so hard for me to see. I don't know which way I'm going. This way? Yeah. Okay. Because it's backwards. Sorry, y'all. It's tripping me out. Let me go to where I'm not making a shadow or whatever. These are all carrots in my path. And so my weeds now that I've been trying to do, which I have a carrot flower all the way down at the creek, right? It's crazy. It fully flowered out and seeded. And because it hitchhiked on me, these little things, they're fuzzy little seeds, like little Velcros. I caught 3 of them on my pants this morning, just walking the garden, because I'll be walking out here like this, and then they like get snagged on my pants. And then I walk down to the creek, and all of a sudden I'm seeding the creek. So I'm wilding cultivated plants. That's my goal and effort. And so far on that list, the things that are in my gravel driveway are carrots, fennel, daikon radish, cilantro, and lettuce in my gravel driveway.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about. Let's get it going. But it remains true. And to me, I wrote this title when I was going through herbalism school. In 2009 or 10, I first wrote this title on a Post-it note. It was a carrot wants to flower. But it's not about one carrot. I've since changed the title, which I said again is a manuscript that either I'm kicking and screaming that I have to illustrate, and that's the blockage, or I just need to find the right illustrator for my work. But nonetheless, I digress. It's now carrots want to flower, because that's the truth, right? Carrots want to flower. I see it over and over and over. Most people, I can't tell you, every single person, well, very seldom does someone come into the garden and say, oh, carrot flowers. It's always like, what is this? I'm not kidding you. Every single tour, it never fails. What is this? I'm like, it's a carrot flower. Oh, I've never seen a carrot flower. You eating a lot of carrots, you know? And like, so that's the thing, is that first book was Carrots Want to Flower. I finally sat down and committed to doing it, and I did that work. And I have blockages there that aren't worth talking about now. We don't have time. But the other book, if you were to look on my Instagram, y'all, scroll back a few, there's a picture of some onions sitting on top of the soil. That second book is called Onions Want to Grow. And that's just evident in all of the onion things that I've done, from little random green onions in water to like bulb onion bottoms, like in the story, where it's a cut off bottom of a bulb onion that regrows, and it literally regenerated 6 onions on top of it that were at least a third the size of the regular onion. So it's like, I don't know, man, it's just really cool. But so I'm just putting these things into words and story. I'm telling my story, right? Grow and Tell's coming to you. I just don't know when. And but since then, I've written 3. So I have 3 written kids manuscripts, and I have 4 other titles and framework ideas. One of which I'll just tell you is called Weavers Want to Weave, about orb weaver spiders, and that whole idea that, you know, that good or bad, it's like they're just being weavers, you know. They're not, you know, it's just, they're just spiders, man, just being spiders.
So Josh, one question. So let's go ahead and get that asked and see where it goes.
Well, I didn't, because I knew we were leaving early. I didn't really save a lot of questions, but the one question.
I know, sorry.
No worries. You're using the blue mat system, and Farmer Cheryl wanted to know if you'd ever thought of using Oyas instead of blue mat.
I have not thought of it. Some of their blue mats are set up like Oyas in a sense. And the ones that I have on Gravity, you could kind of think of like a large Oya, but I have not thought about that. Mostly because like even this garden is on blue mats. And so it's like the level of diversity and things like that, without doing any kind of Oya research, so to speak, I don't know. I just really don't know. So to answer your question, no, I haven't thought about it. If it's something I should think about, that'd be really cool. And maybe I could look into it, because I'm all about ancient technologies. You know, I think we complicate things more than not, for sure. But that's what I love about the blue mats, is they're very passive. And versus like a friend of mine who is one of the very large vineyards around here, he has like this digital iridometer that I can't tell you, you know, it's crazy. He showed me a digital iridometer from six hours away. You know, it's on his Bluetooth or whatever. I don't know how he connects to it, Wi-Fi or something like that. But you know, he knows what's going on in that vineyard 6 hours from here, and it's like, whoa, that's high tech. That's some. It's cool those are our trinkets that I think is really cool. And I'm not going to demonize the idea of taker, right? But I'm kind of more in the camp. And that's why we're friends, because he's like, dude, these blue mats are really cool. But also he's running a multi-million-dollar vineyard. I don't think blue mats are going to quite be his thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. Because I've had issues with them too. Like soybean, the 3 mills made out of soybean oil is what I understand. And I've had critters teach me things. So we'll just say that. But anyway, I appreciate your time, man. I don't want to keep you. I know I chatted too long. I always chat too long, but I just get excited to share stuff with people, man.
Hey, so Joshua, can you turn your camera around?
Flip it around. Yeah, I'm flipping it back. I was going to say I should at least flip her back around.
So there look at this. See the shirt?
What do you got there? I was going to say, I was trying to see that tree the whole time.
That's
that tree.
Guess who gave me this?
What is it? Who? Oh,
Yeah.
Earth Grower? Is that Earth Grower? Is that Brian's
Brian.
shirt?
That's Brian.
Nice.
All right, I finally pulled out my horizontal shirt. It literally just fell off me. There were so many holes in it. So we were chatting it up, and I was like, "Hey, dude, do you still have any more of those horizontal shirts? Because I love to wear it." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll send you one, right?" And he sent me this one too. So
sweet, dude, I like that.
Yeah, when you see him, give him a hug for me.
For sure, man. Yeah, and anyone that doesn't know Brian, Earth Grower, that's his handle, Earth Grower LLC or something like that. But just Earth Grower, he's got some real cool shirts, and he's just a real cool dude, man. But he's in the struggle like all of us. So he's a young dad now. Sending him love. He's here in our part of town, Clarkdale. So
yep, he told me.
But
okay, everybody, Leighton's got to run, so I'm cutting the streamer right now. Bye, everybody.